Just reported live on ESPN's First Take, the New York Knicks are making moves behind the scenes that could shake up both the locker room and the coaching staff. According to the panel, sources around the league have revealed that the Knicks are not only in talks to bring back a former fan favorite in a significant staff role, but they've also quietly made an under-the-radar coaching addition that could have long-term implications heading into training camp. Let's break it down. The coaching buzz around New York took a turn when it was confirmed that Mike Brown, the newly appointed head coach, will retain the majority of Tom Thibodeau's old staff. That includes names like Darren Erman, Mark Bryant, Maurice Cheeks, Rick Brunson, and Dice Yoshimoto, all of whom will remain with the team despite the front office moving on from Thibs. Brown's approach is collaborative. As was pointed out on First Take, he plans to work closely with Leon Rose on constructing the rest of the bench, a structure that aligns with what the Knicks front office has been looking for: a head coach who works in tandem with management, not independently from it. And Mike Brown has already started adding his own people. Just last week, it was revealed that Ricardo Foy, who worked under Brown in Sacramento, will now be joining the Knicks coaching staff. If you were watching the Knicks' Summer League games, you may have even spotted Foy sitting courtside with the team's brass, which now makes perfect sense. Now, Foy isn't the headline here, but he's worth mentioning because his role is key. He's known as a player development specialist, someone who connects well with young talent and helps them refine their game. Players like Pacom Dadier, Mohamed Guai, and Dink Pate are expected to benefit immediately from his presence on the court. He's a young coach, communicates well with players, and has a solid reputation for helping guys unlock their potential. So while this move was quiet, it's strategic. But let's get to the name that really matters in this update: Pablo Prigioni, or as fans affectionately remember him, the veteran point guard who became an unlikely New York favorite more than a decade ago. Back in 2012, the Knicks made headlines by signing Prigioni, then the oldest rookie in the NBA in over 40 years, after a storied career in Argentina and Spain. Despite coming in late, he made an immediate impact, proving to be a steady backup point guard with high IQ, great court vision, and underrated shooting ability. He didn't light up the box score, but his influence was felt, and Knicks fans embraced him from day one. Now, according to a report discussed on First Take, the Knicks have officially received permission to speak with Pablo Prigioni about a potential role on Mike Brown's coaching staff. He's currently an assistant with the Minnesota Timberwolves, but interest in bringing him back to New York is serious. He's well regarded in coaching circles, respected by players, and already familiar with the New York market. Plus, with other big names like Terry Stotts reportedly staying put, and other candidates like James Borrego and Phil Handy unavailable, Prigioni has emerged as a leading candidate to become Brown's top assistant, possibly even associate head coach. From what First Take's panel discussed, this looks like more than just speculation. Prigioni checks every box: familiarity with the franchise, a player-first mindset, and coaching experience at both the NBA and international level. The Knicks reportedly made overtures towards several other names, but whether it was teams blocking permission or candidates choosing other destinations, the search has narrowed, and Prigioni appears to be the frontrunner. And fans should be excited. In his time with New York, Prigioni averaged about 4 points, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds per game, while shooting over 38% from 3. Those numbers don't tell the whole story, though. He brought poise to the second unit, played mistake-free basketball, and always seemed to make the right pass at the right time. His presence now, in a coaching capacity, would bring a similar calming influence to the sideline. This potential reunion feels like a full-circle moment for a player who quietly became a cult hero at MSG. If all goes as expected, Prigioni could be Mike Brown's right-hand man as the Knicks look to enter a new era of player development and on-court discipline. And remember, this is only the beginning of the Knicks staff reshuffling. Prigioni might be the first domino to fall, but he likely won't be the last. Back on First Take, they touched on this. Pablo Prigioni's best NBA moments came during his time with the Knicks. He wasn't just a fill-in veteran, he actually played some of his smartest, most effective basketball on a Knicks team that, at the time, was in playoff contention. Yes, things unraveled by the end, but, to be fair, the main reason the Knicks missed the playoffs in 2014 wasn't because of effort or coaching, it was injuries. Carmelo Anthony was still playing elite-level ball that year. That was the season he dropped 62 at MSG. He averaged just under 25 points per game, something like 24.8 if memory serves. I've watched Melo my whole life, favorite player ever, so those numbers are etched in my head. But the supporting cast struggled to stay healthy. Tyson Chandler was in and out of the lineup, and the roster just never stayed intact long enough to compete consistently. New York finished 9th in the East and didn't make the postseason again until 2021, after a full roster reset. Now look, Phil Jackson came in shortly after, and while he's a legend as a coach, he was an absolute disaster as a front office executive. He couldn't replicate what someone like Pat Riley did in Miami. That era set the Knicks back, no doubt. But things have turned around. Anyway, back to Pablo. The buzz right now is about Prigioni returning to New York, this time not as a player, but as lead assistant coach under Mike Brown. The fit makes a lot of sense. After his stint with the Knicks as a player, Prigioni spent a year on the Nets coaching staff, then moved on to Minnesota, where he gradually rose through the ranks. He was eventually promoted to associate head coach, basically the Wolves' offensive coordinator, and held that role for 2 seasons before being reassigned to a standard assistant spot when Chris Finch took over. He's worked closely with players like Karl Anthony Towns, someone he knows well and who may very well be wearing a Knicks jersey soon. Prigioni also understands the weight of coaching at Madison Square Garden. He's been there before, he's felt the pressure. That matters. And what the Knicks are reportedly aiming for, as discussed on First Take, is structure. They want defined roles on the staff, so bringing Prigioni in as an associate head coach who handles the offensive game plan mirrors the structure they had back in the 2021 and 2022 season. The idea is to have a voice in the room who's not only tactically sharp, but also understands what it means to represent New York on the hardwood. Pablo checks every one of those boxes. He's still relatively young, he's built respect around the league, and his approach to the game aligns perfectly with where the Knicks are headed, and you don't have to dig far to see the excitement. The second this report came out, fans online lit up. It took Reddit all of 5 seconds to flood the thread, with calls like, "Bring Pablo back home." When Ian Begley dropped the report, the mood was instant. Knicks fans were fired up. Finally, a positive coaching development. People still call him Priggy Smalls for a reason. He's a cult favorite. Even now, Knicks fans remember him fondly, not just for the moments he had on the floor, but for the way he carried himself. Bringing him back wouldn't just be a smart hire, it would be a feel-good story. And like when Mike Woodson came back a few years ago, it's also about having a coach you genuinely trust. Look, his stats were modest, around 4 points, 3 assists, and 2 boards per game in New York. But that doesn't tell the full story. He was one of the smartest players on the team, always making the right read, always steadying the second unit. That same basketball IQ has now translated into coaching, and in Minnesota, he's proven to be a strong developer of talent. His offensive systems helped modernize their attack and created a space where stars like Anthony Edwards could thrive. Honestly, it's a little surprising that he hasn't already landed an associate head coach position elsewhere. He's clearly earned it, but New York? That just feels right. So, if this happens, Prigioni would return to the Knicks in a major role, and possibly one that sets him up for future head coaching opportunities. It's the kind of move that just makes sense from every angle. The connection to the fan base, his basketball mind, his familiarity with the franchise. He's not just a throwback name, he's someone who's ready to make an impact now. Now, let me know what you all think. Would you like to see Pablo Prigioni return to New York as the team's associate head coach? Drop your thoughts down in the comment. One last note. I do have one small concern. Personally, I would have preferred a defensive-minded hire in that assistant role, but I understand the direction the front office is going here. With Jalen Brunson and, potentially, Karl Anthony Towns leading the charge, this team is built around offense. It makes sense to double down in that area. And if you're going to go that route, there aren't many better options than Pablo. That's it for this update. If you're excited about this potential reunion, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and, as always, go Knicks.